Hello and welcome to the ARM Prelearning event webinar. My name is Daryl Bays. I'm an agriculturalist with the ARM program support, and I will be recording this pre-learning webinar. My coworker Katie Pinto, during a live demonstration, was able to demo ARM itself, but I will take that. I will perform that function. So by the end of this session, you will be able to state the benefits of ARM to PPQ and its mission. You will also be able to recognize the functionality and features of the ARM interface and identify support resources for ARM. And we want to increase your familiarity with ARM so that when we do virtual training, you will come to the training with some basic knowledge skill, and it will make the virtual training go much smoother. So our introduction, which we're doing now, I will do ARM definitions and rationale, and then I will navigate the ARM workspace, and at the end we will wrap up and talk about the next steps. So we have a message from our Deputy Administrator, Osama Alissier, and I will include a hyperlink to that to that video if you want to watch it. So what is ARM? ARM stands for the Agricultural Risk Management System, and it is PPQ. It's going to become PPQ's primary system for tracking and reporting conveyances, commodities, and for trade compliance activities. This is not going to replace SNICUS for SITC. SNICUS will continue to be your vehicle for documenting commerce site inspections, work activity. ARM is going to replace ACAS. So whenever you had to create an emergency action notification, or if you needed a diagnostic request or a commodity determination, that's when you will access ARM. So ARM does follow a single record from its creation, and it flows into your findings and, if needed, pest identification and your regulatory action. ARM will replace ACAS in the spring of 2021. It's currently being used at plant inspection stations for AQI operations, and it has been introduced into pre-departure. It was introduced in the spring of 2019, and in the spring of 2020, we do plan to introduce this to SITC as well. Okay, so what are some of the changes? There is currently with ACAS, you do not have, access to information is not readily available, and there is a lack of standardization of the data. ARM brings a more standardization of the data collection. It is better organized, and it's more accessible for risk assessment on the back end. So again, ACAS is siloed. You have your EAN module, you have your pest identification module. They do not speak to each other. You would have to, enter data into each system repetitively. It does allow for free text, and that does create inconsistent data entry. ARM is one integrated system. It uses, the record information that you've populated, and it will move through the process. It will pull that information into the next module for findings, and if you do need, a diagnostic request or regulatory action. This is a great visual. So again, you record your initial information, you enter that one time, and then you record your findings, and that data is pre-populated from your records. Again, when you create a diagnostic request or a commodity determination, that record and findings information will follow the process into diagnostic request and also regulatory action. So if you need to issue an EAN, you can do that as well. and the forms can be generated in PDF format from ARM, so you have that option as well. Okay, these are the user roles. You have your SITC officer conducting inspections, your data entry, your disposition and final regulatory action. You have your SITC supervisor who's going to review the work that's being entered into ARM, and they will also have the ability to review and close out WAD data information. Your area identifier, national specialist, and your national identification services. It's in here just to show you there is a workflow that ARM, again, it's an integrated system, so the data that you enter into a diagnostic request and submit that for identification will flow directly to your area identifier. If they need additional support, they're going to forward it to a national specialist, and again at the NIS level if needed. All right, so we had a basic knowledge review during the live webinar, but these statements, except for the last one, do describe ARM. It is going to be PPQ's primary system for tracking and reporting PPQ activities. It does again follow a single record, and your view in ARM is based off of your assigned, the role that you're assigned within ARM. But it does not require a substantial workflow to that process. And then again, which of the following are benefits to ARM? The standardization of data, better organizational insight, and it's more easily accessible and accurate. All right, so now I'm going to demo the ARM site itself. So here I'm in the staging view or the staging door of ARM. When we go through training, you will have access to the ARM door for training. So there's 4 separate doors. You have a production, you have a training, and then you have release candidate. So a lot of testing goes on in release candidate before it goes into production. So during the training, this is where we will practice during the virtual training, and then when ARM goes live, you will be assigned a role within production, and you will be able to enter your data directly into that. So here we have the interface for ARM, and within your documents you will have the URL website to log in. Again, it's an e-authentication process, so when you log into the ARM website, you will have to have your LinkPass credentials in order to access the system. I think because, let's see, it's very important in your settings to set your auto refresh so that ARM does not log you out when you're using it. All right, so again, I'm going to give you a demonstration of the navigation within ARM. This area up here is called your user icon profile, and it is where you can change your role. If you have multiple roles assigned to you, it's also where you can change your location. If you have multiple locations assigned, it gives you your account information, and this is where you can set your defaults for which particular role or location you would prefer ARM default to. It also has your contact information, so if you need support, you can contact the ARM help desk. We'll go over the help desk over here as well. Okay, so this right here is your workspace icon. It's basically your home button. This is where you want to go when you start to enter information. You get into ARM. Um, you may be in different panes and you want to get back to your workspace. That's the icon you will use. We do not recommend using the back button on your browser. That will not, it will bring you back to the original login. Some of the information that you may have entered could be lost. So these tabs here are your ARM workspace tabs. You have a records tab, you have a diagnostics tab, and a regulatory action tab. Diagnostics is replacing your 391 or 309, I'm sorry, but it's the same process. When you get to the PDF format, you'll notice that the form is similar. And then regulatory action is just another name for emergency action notification. Okay, over here on the far left, if you want to find out details further in the record, you can use the findings or the information icon. You can also upload documents if you need to. No documents are currently uploaded for this particular record. And you can also generate forms. So if you do have an emergency action notification that you want to issue, you can use the forms functionality. The reporting functionality is going to be built for SITC. It currently caters towards the plant inspection station, and it is basically an extension of Cognos. So you will be directed to a landing page, and you will be able to access some basic reports. Finally, we have our WADs. So this is where you will be able to enter your WADs. There will be some basic auto calculation, but there will also be the ability to add a WADs code if necessary. When you first log in to your interface, it everyone has different WADs codes that they use more frequently, so you'll be able to build your own. You'll be able to add your WADs codes using this icon in this interface. And then here is your help information. This is where you will go for information about user guides. Again, here's a self-service email link to the ARM help desk. This basically takes you to that front end form or area we were before, and then you have your ARM administration form. So your ARM administration form, if you do get assigned on TDY, you're going to be working as a SITC officer in a different location, and you need 60 to 90 to 120 day access to a different location, SITC location. You can use the ARM administration form to fill that out and submit it, and you can be given access to that location. So here are some general user guides. How to log into ARM, avoiding timing out, review again of your information panel, your search events, and navigating the ARM workspace. Pre-departure has its section with user guides. The plant inspection station has its section with user guides, and a SITC location will be added. You can also have webinar access here as well. And here's other resources that will keep you from having to navigate outside of ARM. You will have a link directly to either a PDF version of a manual or a other guidance that you may need as you clear cargo or conduct an inspection. Okay, and we have talked about the global search. So up here is where you can search for an event ID or a diagnostic request. So it requires a minimum of of 3 letters, numbers, but you can add as many as you need. Obviously, the more specific you are, the better results you're going to get. And here you can see, because I entered New Jersey Elizabeth ITC 2002, it gives me the records that are associated with that. If I had been more specific and added another 3 digits, 4 digits, it would have zeroed in on the specific record that I was looking for. Here you have a view of 10. You want to make sure that you don't go over 15, because if you go higher, it can bog your system down and it can be hard for the page to load. But if you do want to continue to scroll through, you can do that down here to look for additional records. So I'm going to go back to my workspace. So that is the global search feature. And other features within ARM, you have the ability to filter by date, if you like. So here it filtered the results of 320. If you have a specific pathway, so if it's a commerce site, you can quickly filter all of your commerce sites. If you have a specific commodity that you're looking for, it's going to pull up all the Ipomoea aquatica. Here's a feature where, these are all active records. If you want to see those that have been completed or show all, you have that ability as well, and that's going to include, records that are archived. If it's within the last 3 days, that's something that can help as well. And then you have a date range. You can choose, the last 7 days, and so on and so forth. You can use a custom range. So these are very helpful. The filter feature is very helpful once you start adding records to ARM. And over here, if you want to ascend or descend as far as the interception date, you have that option as well. Your findings date, your pathways, it's more alphabetized, and then event IDs or commodity quantity, from largest to smallest, and then status as well. You have that ability. So in the live version, we did a knowledge review. User profile, is that number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? It's obviously number 1. Your workspace icon is here. So there's your user profile. Okay, so wrap up and next steps. We are in this together. We have been working with SITC since August of last year, and the development team, so the contractor who's building this module for SITC, and we've had great participation from SITC management, SITC SMEs. Some of your counterparts have been contributing to the working sessions, building ARM so that it works for SITC, so that the interface makes sense and it flows, for the work that you're going to do. Unfortunately, the classroom-based training was postponed, and we are going to present this in a virtual scenario. You do have your user guides. I showed that to you in the help section of of ARM itself in the live section. So we have created those user guides for you as well. And just to recap, again, ARM is going to replace ACAS. ACAS is going to be retired in 2021, and ARM is the primary tracking system. It does and will capture some traditional data that would normally go into ACAS into ARM for SITC, and you have your single record, flow. Again, standardized data and organizational insight. Next steps. This slide is unfortunately irrelevant now. We're going to be contacting you individually to set up a time and date that works for your schedule to do the virtual training. So, keep an ear out for and keep an eye out for emails in your inbox. And I just want to thank you, and I appreciate everyone being flexible with all that has happened and continues to happen. We're obviously in a state of flux, so stay safe and look forward to the virtual training soon. Thank you.